Hi, thanks for joining me today. I have a great guest that I can't wait to introduce you to. Her name is Kristin Cancilla Zieg, and she is a therapist and yoga therapist, but probably not the type that you're thinking of. So I'm going to let her explain a little bit about what she does. All right. Hi, Kristin.
Hi, so great to be here. I thank you guys all for signing on and taking a listen. So yes, what is it that yoga therapists do and therapy in general? So I always like to tell people that there is more than one right way to do everything. And so for some people moving through challenging times in life, we are all experiencing it with COVID and quarantine. Things are changing and things are getting uncomfortable. And so sometimes traditional talk therapy works great, but oftentimes when we experience trauma, which this is traumatic, it's a shared traumatic experience. Some of us have lost our jobs, we've lost homes. And so there's a lot of trauma going on and we hold it in our bodies. And so when we do that, it's hard to heal what's going on through talking when it's something that we have physically experienced, right? And so what I do with therapy and my yoga therapy, I do two main forms of therapy. I practice EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, which is a somatic, more traditional therapy. And then yoga informed therapy is getting into the body, using the body to find the healing. And so it's not the yoga class that you're going to go to at your gym or at a yoga studio. It's really intentional movement on how can we deal with anxiety? How can we deal with the PTSD-like symptoms that come up when we're experiencing betrayal? How can we allow the body to have the space to open up and release some of the trauma that it's holding? Because we hold life in our bodies. And so it's really a process of bringing a person, and it's something that we can do it in an office. Sometimes I'll just have people sit in a certain position, right? It's not always on a yoga mat, but oftentimes I bring you onto a yoga mat. I put you into a position, we hold it for anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, and you just notice what the body does. And you notice how the mind and the thoughts and the breath starts to change as the body holds these different positions. And so it's really powerful work because you don't have to use words. You don't have to put a name to what it is you're experiencing. You can just allow yourself to feel the experience, which actually allows you to move through the experience. And so we have a saying in my world, in order to heal, you have to feel. And doing yoga, you feel. So that's just a little snippet of what I do.
That's awesome. And I have so many clients, and it seems like there's two sides to the divorce couple. That's the divorcing couple that's coming to mediation. There's someone who might have been thinking about the divorce, kind of processed the fact that they're going to get divorced. They've grieved. It wasn't really what they wanted, but they've processed a lot. And then there's the other client who has been blindsided. Their life is now upside down. This is all new to them. And all of a sudden, boom, boom, they got to get with it. We're going to do divorce. And it's so hard for them. And I would love for you to speak a little bit about how you might be able to help the person that's so blindsided who can't think straight. They're just like they're upside down. And physically, I know they're having symptoms, but they can't necessarily what to do. I'd love to know how you might help them.
Yeah. And so a lot of times when that happens, and that is, Leslie, as you know, so common, where you have one person and they're like, how can, the blindsided partner is just like, how can they be ready to move on so quick? And it's like, well, they've been going through this process for the last year or sometimes the last 10 years, and for the other partner, it's all brand new. And so one of the things that's so powerful about the type of work that I get to do is that when we have something like that, that's a traumatic experience. When the partner comes home and says, I want a divorce, that is trauma, right? We call that D-Day usually, Discovery Day. And the body has a reaction just like the mind does, just like the spirit does. And so oftentimes we go into either fight or flight. So it's a fear response, it's fight or flight. So you move into the parasympathetic nervous system where everything shuts down. The brain shuts down, the organs shut down, you're not sleeping. you're not eating, the digestive system shuts down. And so with yoga, we can regulate the body and get the body back into that calm space where your brain, because when you're in a fear state, your rational brain shuts off, your emotional brain then shuts off, and you're going with the amygdala, which we call the lizard brain. And it literally is like, how do I survive? And that's not the state you want to be in when you're making decisions about who's going to have the kids when and who's going to get the house, because you can't think, right? And you're literally fighting for your life. And so when I work with clients, and actually Leslie and I are working with a client right now, and, you know, working with that partner who is just what happened because the partner's life literally just got ripped out from underneath her. And as I say, just spun upside down. It's really about grounding. It's really about finding that, okay, even though my life just became really unfamiliar, I can find a sense of safety within. And that's the biggest thing. We have to, if we go into a divorce, and if two partners go into a mediation and they think that they have to protect themselves, they're going to do it by attacking the other person. And that's not going to be in the best interest of the marriage that's now ending. If you have littles, if you want to look back on your life and say, okay, I did that well, you don't want to go from a place where you feel like you're threatened and that you have to fight for your life. Because so my job is to get each person to a place to where they're grounded and they're centered and they're able to breathe. The heart rate is regulated. They're back into a restful, calm state. They still might not like their situation, but we work a ton on acceptance of just, can we just accept this is where we are instead of fighting life and demanding it be other. Eventually down the road, usually it's not all the time that this happens until after the divorce has happened, but we work on forgiveness of every party involved.
They're probably not ready to hear that at the beginning.
Actually, no, I tell my clients in the beginning, I've already, like our mutual client, like they know they're doing forgiveness work, and it's interesting because when I say forgiveness, and this is a great thing to realize for people, forgiveness isn't condoning. It's not excusing. It's not a permitting. It's actually freeing the individual from the pain of the judgment, the shame, so the guilt and the fear. So it's literally, so the person who has been wronged thinks, I'm not going to forgive my partner because they've hurt me. It's not about the partner. It's about, do you want to continue carrying the pain? And forgiveness heals the pain. So it really, it's so, and that's one of the reasons why we withhold forgiveness so much, because we'll say they don't deserve it. Not about that. It's about, what do you deserve?
That's great. Yeah. So what I want to go back to the most is, I think that the hardest thing for people when they're in that fight or flight mode and they're not feeling safe, that was a great word that you used, because if they're not feeling safe, it's so hard for them to be in the mediation process, to negotiate, to advocate for themselves, because they're not thinking straight. So when I have a client that might be in that place and I can kind of tell, do you have an idea? And I know it's probably up to them, but how long might it take working with you until they might be ready? Like, can you give it a time frame, or?
Honestly, it can happen in moments. If somebody is practiced, so if you're in front of somebody and you can tell they don't feel safe, you can say, I want you to shut your mouth and take a breath through your nose. And what that does is it slows down the mind and it gets the body to realize, okay, I'm okay. For the big bomb just blew up, sometimes that will take, and it depends on the person's lifestyle prior, obviously. If you have a mindfulness practice, if you're somebody who already does a practice of yoga or a prayer life, meditation life, something that is very grounding, the body will actually find its way back to that state quite quickly. Nice. It's muscle memory, okay? And it's one of the biggest reasons, I tell every client, I'm like, you're going to get so sick of hearing me say, breathe, just notice your breath. Because even when you just stop and breathe, all of a sudden people are like, oh, I feel better. just because it brings you down to that calm space. But it's going to be different for every single person. If somebody is really not in that place of acceptance, if they're fighting it, they're not going to feel safe for a while.
Right.
And so
yeah, they won't allow themselves.
They won't allow it. Exactly. And so that's where we get to empower the person and say, you can choose, like, and this is the biggest thing that people realize. Safety is a sensation. It's not a circumstance.
Very good.
It's you can feel safe even if you might actually be in an unsafe place. Okay. You can still be aware. So you can be in the midst of chaos and be very grounded.
Right.
So it's not, you know, a lot of people think, well, I can't feel safe in the situation. Yes, you can.
Right. And I guess I want to really point out, we're not talking about domestic abuse. We're talking
No,
about,
absolutely not. Nope. Yep.
Yeah.
That's different. Yep. And that's a really good point to make.
Yeah. Just, but the one thing I do want to say is that what I'm talking about, really, that safe feeling is usually financially. The person is like, oh no, I am not going to be able, I don't feel safe that I'm going to have enough money and be able to live my life and maintain and be with the kids like I wanted to be, or, you know, maybe lose time with the kids. That's the safe that the rug has been pulled out from under them. That's
yeah. And that's really, again, one of those things where and it goes counter to everything that what I teach goes counter to what the world will tell you, because the money isn't what makes you safe. It's the thing you've attached to. But when you depend on, I need X amount of money in order to feel safe, you're setting yourself up. And so I really work with, find the safety within. It has nothing to do with your surroundings. And when somebody really knows that, when they close their eyes and within a matter of 30 seconds, they can be like, oh, I feel really calm and relaxed. And they realize they have that power. Suddenly they don't have to, it's not life or death that I get X amount of money. Now and then again, remember, Leslie, that when they move into that safe place, they don't make bad decisions. They don't sign on the dotted line just to get the experience over with.
right.
So how many people have you known who've done that? Where it's like, I just wanted the experience to be over with. And in 2 years, they're like, can we go back to mediation? Because that wasn't a good idea.
Oh, it happens a lot. Yep, it happens a lot. I hear those stories all the time. We definitely don't have that happen in my practice because we take it so methodically, but you hear those stories, it is common.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all about, it's noticing that the things that we have identified that we need really aren't the things that we need. So, and it goes, again, it goes against what our culture teaches, because our culture teaches us, no, we have to have a certain amount in the bank account to be okay. And we have to have the right car, and we have to be able to dress our kids the right way. And you can have those things, and there's nothing wrong with having those things, but that's not what you need to feel safe. And that's not what you need to heal.
That's so fascinating. And I think that being able to listen to you on this video gives people just the hope that, hey, maybe I can, get through this, and I might need some help to do it. So tell me, how could they get a hold of you, or what would it look like? Where do you meet? Over Zoom, in person, or give us
So right now the life world has changed. So we do this a lot. I have long-term, I have an 8-week therapeutic yoga course that I run. I'll be starting one up again in fall. We're just ending up next week with our summer series. And that's an inner exploration of how you relate with emotions. And so in that program, I work with, we look at anger, gratitude, fear, love, guilt, forgiveness, shame, and compassion. So it's looking at all of these, how can we deal with these difficult emotions and heal them with these other emotions, which is funny because let's tell you, by the time we get to love, people are like, and forgiveness, or so I use the word, easy a little bit differently. But so if people want to reach out to me, they can go to my website. It's www.ziegtherapy. It's Z as in zebra, I-E, G as in giraffe, therapy.com. You'll find all the information about my yoga programs, my traditional therapeutic approaches. You can give me a call. I'll give you my number. I don't care about giving you out my number. It's 332-7944. And then my email is Kristin@ziegtherapy.com, and it's Kristin. So my name's still a little different than most people. I do Zoom, so we can do yoga together. Like I said, I do my therapeutic yoga class right now with 20 other people on Zoom, which is actually great because I actually got to work with way more students than I normally do. I do one-on-one therapy. So we do traditional talk therapy, EMDR, yoga-informed therapy in person or via Zoom as well. All work amazingly well in the virtual world. It's been incredible. And then I have a private practice that I work out of my home office. And so I have a home studio and an office in a separate area of my house. So nobody has to worry about intruding into my space. They just come in through the back door and into this beautiful little yoga studio and my therapy office. And that's where the magic begins, but only if people feel safe. Again, about safety. If you feel safe coming in person, beautiful. If you don't, I have my office set up now to where everything's more than 6 feet apart. And even when we do yoga, so the biggest change as of late with my therapeutic practice is that in some cases, touch can be hugely healing in the therapeutic process. And so that's one thing that we've kind of had to take out. So in my own practice. So I don't physically touch clients right now. But I have a lot of clients that I work with who are just like, it was lovely, but this still works. Like, it's amazing how intimate this still feels. So yeah.
That's wonderful. I really appreciate you spending time with me today and helping my clients understand a little bit more about what you do, because I don't think a lot of people know that people like you exist and this kind of exists.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
It's so healing because it's not just the mind. You know, we are beings and we have all these dimensions to our state, all these different states of our being, our emotional beings, our spiritual beings, our mental beings, our physical beings, right? And they all experience life. Every aspect of our being experience life. And so it's really a beautiful thing to be able to touch each one of those places in the healing process, because that's what you have to do. You know, you can't heal the mind with the mind, I say, but you can heal the mind with the body.
I think you're right on. Well, I'm excited for people to meet you, and thank you again for your time today.
Thank you so much.